Business is welcoming the migration overhaul, saying it will lead to a more competitive Australia. I was joined earlier by Andrew McKellar, CEO of the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Well, look, we think it's a very constructive report. I think the review's brought considerable expertise. They've listened to the different perspectives, and I think everybody acknowledges the existing system has major flaws. The recommendations that have been put forward here, I think, will substantially transform our migration system, refocus it, get it much more onto the skills that we need, and deliver results that will benefit the Australian economy and the community more broadly.
So how will the new system better attract and indeed retain top talent?
Well, I think in a number of ways, redesign particularly of the temporary skills visa system, addressing many of the complexities and the flaws in the existing system, reducing the reliance on a churn of temporary migrants and opening up pathways to permanency. I think that will give employers much greater certainty, and it will deliver much better results for people who are migrating to Australia themselves.
We know that we've seen huge shortages here in skills shortages in the care economy as well as certain areas in tech. Which sectors do you think will be most positively impacted by the overhaul, and which sectors might have been a little bit left behind or might you have concerns about?
Well, look, I think it'll have broad benefits right across many of the areas in business, so whether that's in construction, engineering, mining, the resources sector. I think all of those areas will benefit. The areas, I think, where there are some risks with the new system will be those that are closest to the new income threshold. And that might mean some areas of catering, food, hospitality. Occupations in some of those sectors face some higher risks under the new scenario.
You mentioned that threshold there. That's the temporary skilled migration income threshold, which has been lifted to 70,000. It's higher than what business groups were calling for. How comfortable are you with that new level?
Look, I think it is realistic, to be honest, so it's a little higher than we would have preferred. If the previous threshold had simply been indexed, it would have been just under the level that's been recommended. But obviously this is a much more practical outcome than the submission that some parties made. The unions were suggesting it should be increased to 90,000. That would have meant that many occupations would have fallen outside of that level. It would have made it much more difficult to have a workable migration system that addressed some of the critical skill shortages that we've got.
And will it go some way to reducing potential worker exploitation?
Well, we believe it will. So I think some of the changes that are being foreshadowed take us in that direction. It will mean that it is much harder for people to be exploited. That's a good thing. We've got to avoid that situation where if people get into a situation where they're changing employer, that they become more vulnerable and that they're exposed to the risk of someone adopting unethical standards, taking advantage.
I noticed today that there were comments from ACCI regarding ensuring that regional and rural businesses do not face any added disadvantage. Where could that added disadvantage come from?
Well, I think here it will come down a little bit to the access to some of those new visa categories, and clearly businesses in regional areas sometimes they're not in the position to pay the same level as occupations in the main cities, so that can be a challenge. They need to be able to get access to people on a flexible basis. We hope that will be something that can be worked through in the detail. Obviously, there's going to be some points to clarify there. There are questions, in terms of regional areas. But look, on the whole, we are very supportive of the direction that the review has gone in.
Andrew McKellar, thank you for your time.
Great, thank you.